Well, hello Internet, and welcome to my JavaScript video tutorial. In this one tutorial, I'm going to teach you pretty much everything you would learn in a standard 300-page book on JavaScript. And in the description underneath the video, I have links to all the individual parts so you can jump to specifically what you want to learn about. And also, I have the code. Everything down there is free. And I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so on the left side of the screen I have Sublime Text, and the name of the file is jstut.html, and I wrote a little bit of styling inside here and kept this all in one page just to keep everything very simple. And on the right side of the screen I have Google Chrome running. Also, down here in the bottom of the screen, I have a little tool that's going to allow me to go in there and check my code. And you can open that up just by going over here and clicking on View, and then Developer, and then JavaScript Console, and that will open up the JavaScript console. Alright, so first thing I'm going to cover here is how we can import some JavaScript code directly in here and use that. Very simple. All we're going to do is come in and type script, and then source is equal to, and then let's say that I have a JavaScript file called jstut, and now what I'll be able to do is come in here and import any of the functions that are inside of this file inside of here and run them and keep my code and my screen overall very, very clean. So there that is. Now what I want to do is come in here and actually show you how you can interact with the user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a paragraph tag, and I'm going to give it an ID of, say, hello, like this. And this is sort of going to be an overview of a whole bunch of different things that we will then cover in more detail later on. Then I'm going to open up another script tag. Don't need any of this stuff right here. Then inside of it, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable that is going to store a name, and how I'm going to get the data to store inside of that variable is by opening a prompt on the screen. Now, this isn't something you would do all the time, but this is just a neat little example. Like I said, I'll give you more details as it comes up. And this is just going to open up a little prompt on the screen and of course ask them, what is your name? And then what I'm going to do is verify that they actually provided me a name, and what I'm saying here is if the name is not equal to null, null being empty. So I'm saying if they actually gave me a name, then I want to do something. What I want to do is I want to take the name and put a little message right here inside of my paragraph tags. To do so, I'm going to go document, and I need to get a hold of that element, and how I'm going to get a hold of that element is go get element by ID, and of course the ID for this guy is say hello, just like it says right there. And then I want to put this inside of the HTML tags. To do that, you go enter HTML, and then I'm going to say something like hello space, and to concatenate or to combine the strings, I'm going to put a plus sign inside of there, and then I'm going to put your name. Now what I want to do is provide another condition, else if they did have a value of null for your name, which means that they didn't give me a name, I want to do something different. What I'm going to do here is open up an alert pop-up that says please enter a name next time. And there we go, got that all set up. Now if we save that, jump over here and reload our page, you're going to see right here it says what is your name. I'm going to say Derek, and I'm going to click on OK, and you're going to see over here it pops up inside of my paragraph tag, hello Derek. So pretty simple example, but it gives you an overview of a bunch of different things. So now let's jump over and talk a little bit more about variables. Now your variables are not going to be able to start with a number or contain spaces, but they can of course contain letters, numbers, underscores, or dollar signs. And remember, they are case sensitive, so if you have a variable named your name like that, it's going to be different than a variable called your name with a lowercase values. And as you just saw, you create these variables by just saying var, and then you give them a name, and then you assign a value to them. And it doesn't really matter what the data type is. We can come in here and go my age and assign that a value of 40, and we don't need to tell it what type of data type it is. It automatically figures that out itself. And also, because variables don't have a defined type, we can then come in here and do something like my name, exactly the same as above, where I have the string Derek. I can come in here and go and give it a value of 100, for example, and that's not going to cause an error. That's a quick overview of variables because they're pretty simple. So now let's take a little bit closer look at math functions. Now document write is going to allow us to write out to the browser right over here. and I can just come in here and let's do a little bit of math. We'll say something like 5 plus 4 is equal to, and then what we're going to be able to do is come in here and perform a calculation directly inside of our right function. And then if I want to put a new line inside of here, I would just go and throw a break statement in exactly like that. Why don't we also come in here and do another document write just to show you some different things that might cause errors. Let's say instead I would come in here and decide that I wanted to concatenate these guys by putting a plus sign inside of there. You might think that this guy right here is going to give me exactly the same value as this guy right here. Well, why don't we save it and reload and see if that's true. Well, we want to first come in here and throw in a script tag, of course, and then let's save that and reload it and see if that's true. Well, you can see right here that it isn't true. Why is that? Well, the reason why is right here where we use the comma, that is going to treat this as a mathematical function, while here where we have a plus, remember we can concatenate strings together, that's a concatenation operator. That instead is going to combine all these as if 5 and 4 were strings. So that's a common thing that throws some people, and now you understand it, you won't have a problem with it. Of course, we're also going to be able to come in here and perform all of the common mathematical operations. We'll be able to come in, for example, and do some subtraction on this, and some multiplication, and some division, as well as modulus, which is going to give us the remainder of a division. And you can see all the different mathematical calculations we can perform that are built into JavaScript. Another thing that's important to understand is that there is a standard way to store numbers inside of JavaScript. So let's say we wanted to come in here and figure out what the maximum number we could hold inside of here would be. We're just going to do this, and we'll say something like max num, and to get the maximum number we can store inside of here, we would just go number and then max value. And we can also get the minimum value, so we might as well take a look at that. And you can see right there the maximum value that we could store inside of our JavaScript code, as well as the minimum value we could store inside of there. Now, when we talk about minimums and maximums, you might think, well, those are going to be 100% accurate, that large. Nah, not really. Basically, let's come in here and let's perform a precision test, and know that a number can only be precise up to 16 digits of precision, as you're going to see right here. So here we go, I have a value inside of here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to this to see how the precision works out for us. So we'll save that, and you can see that this perfectly works fine. You can see these values add up to 2 and so forth and so on. But what would happen if we would come in here and say add another 0 and add another 0, file save, reload, and now you can see that everything gets a little bit messed up. So just understand that if any time you go over 16 digits of precision with your decimal values, that things are going to get messed up. And this isn't anything that's specific to JavaScript. This is true of pretty much every programming language. Another thing we want to do here is round some values. So say we have a customer that has a balance at our store, and we want to come in here and we want to print out that value, and we also want to verify or make sure that it comes out to 2 decimal places. Now, let's say that we want to set up something like a monthly payment for this customer so they can pay off their balance. Again, we're going to put a comma inside of there, and we're going to take their balance and we're going to divide that by 12, since it's going to be 12 months until they pay that off. If we then want to round this to 2 decimal places, we just go 2 fixed and then put a 2 inside of there like that. And you can see right there, to pay off that balance in 1 year, they would have to pay $130.32 per month. If you took the 2 fixed out of here, let's go and do that just so you can see what that looks like. You're going to see that it doesn't come out to 2 decimal places. So 2 fixed is another way for us to work or filter our numbers so that they make sense on the screen. Go and create another variable called rand number and give it a value of 5. There's all kinds of different shortcut ways we can work with our different values to perform common operations. Like, for example, let's say that we wanted to take random number and increment it by 1. We could just go plus plus like this, but be aware there's 2 different ways that we can increment, and I'm going to show you both of them right now so that you won't be confused by them. And the other way to do said thing is to come in here and throw the plus plus before the random number. And basically what this is going to do is the guy above is going to come in here and print this out to the screen and then increment the value of random number. And here what this is going to do is it's going to increment the value of random number and then print it to the screen. If I reload it, you can see exactly that that is what it did. We're also going to be able to come in here and subtract 1 from the random number, and you can see exactly how those calculations work out for us. And also there are other shortcut ways to add 1 to a value and then store it back inside of itself. So let's just come back inside of here, document right, and we'll do something like random number. If we wanted to add 5 to random number and then store the result of that calculation back into random number, this is how that's done. Random number plus equal to 5, and we can perform this calculation in multiple different ways. And if we reload that, you can see exactly how that works out. Another thing we can do, or one other thing we should pay attention to, is something called order of operations. And that just basically means that we're going to use parentheses to make sure the calculations are done in specific ways. So first we're going to do a calculation without using parentheses. And you're going to see, if we take 3 plus 2 times 5, that is going to provide us with different results than if we went in here and went 3 plus 2 and surround 3 plus 2 with parentheses, as well as right here, because normal order of operations says that we should multiply 2 times 5 and then add that to 3, but since we put the parentheses here, it's going to first add these, then multiply that times 5. And you can see there how that differs. Now there are numerous different properties and methods built into math libraries inside of JavaScript, so let's take a look at a couple of those. We would just access them, like let's say we wanted to get the value of the numerical constant e. What we would do is just do exactly what you see right here, and we could also come in and do the same thing with pi, two numbers that are built inside of JavaScript. And there you can see those numbers. And of course there are a ton of different methods that are built inside of JavaScript. And here is just a short list. We'll be able to come in and get the absolute value. We'll be able to come in and get the cube root. We'll be able to get a rounding to the ceiling, which means we're going to round up. A round to the floor, which means we're going to round down. A standard round, which means if it's 6.5, it's going to round up. If it's below 6.5, it's going to round down. We can get the natural logarithm. We can get the logarithm to the base of 10. We can get the max value of either one of these that is passed in, the minimum value. We can calculate the power as well as the square root, and a whole bunch of other different calculations. Of course, there's cosine, sine, all those different things. And we can come over here, and there